Well, I'm not sure if you can see me, but I'm here in Millennium Park, in one of the great cities of the world, Chicago, Illinois. And God's really been working on me this morning. Last night we started the CCDA conference that I'm attending here with Chris and Jackie Jones of Ship of Zion and Paul Mosley, director of Bread of Life. And we're here with CCDA, which is the Christian Community Development Association, to learn all about their philosophy of ministering to under-resourced communities. And Dr. John Perkins spoke last night, kind of setting the tone for what we're going to be talking about all this week. And one of the things he spoke about was this whole idea of becoming agents of righteousness in a world that's so full of sin, broken, hurting, people who need leaders who will guide them in this way. And this morning when I got up and I was reading the Common Prayer by my friend Jonathan Wilson Hartgrove and Shane Claiborne, I was struck by a number of things, but what really caught my attention this morning was today is actually the anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King back in 1968. And he was a great man. It's obvious he was a great man. Did incredible things for race relations in the United States. Was the preeminent leader in the civil rights movement and just did some powerful things. But he was a flawed man, as they noted in today's entry in the Common Book of Prayer, where it was talking about Martin Luther's life. He had some issues. He succumbed to the flesh many times. And the thought that really struck me was, what blessings the world may have missed from his life if he had lived a holy, righteous life and had not succumbed to some of those sins of the flesh that became so talked about and discussed after his death. But I was just wondering if he had really obeyed God and really turned his sights and his face towards God, what blessings could the world have received from that great leader beyond the blessings that we did receive as the civil rights movement kind of picked up steam and really made a lot of difference in this country. We see we have a long ways to go in race relations and in the plight of the impoverished. And I just wonder if Martin Luther King had been so committed to being an oak of righteousness and really understood that he was set apart and holy to be used by God, what could he have done? The passage of scripture today that really kind of spurred all this thinking on was from Exodus 15, verse 22, and it says, Then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea, and they went into the desert of Shur. For 3 days they traveled in the desert without finding water. When they came to Marah, they could not drink its water because it was bitter. That is why the place is called Marah. So the people grumbled against Moses, saying, What are we to drink? Then Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became sweet. There the Lord made a decree and a law for them, and there he tested them. He said, If you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. And when I read that, I just think, wow, how often are we just like the Israelites, at the well of Marah? God throws wood in there. He hears us grumbling about, not having sweet water to drink, and, he hears us grumbling about the lack of finances and the pain and sorrows in our lives, and he hears us grumbling about so many things, and he throws the wood in that water, and that water becomes sweet, and we drink from it. And he says, if you will just obey my decrees, if you will seek my truth, if you will live for me, if you will be righteous, then I will keep those things that destroy the rest of the world. I will keep those things away from you. And I'm just thinking, of my own life and the sin that creeps in so often, the doubt, the fear, the anger, all that sin. It's a missing of the mark of what God has for us. If I would just truly seek Him and become that oak of righteousness, as He talks about in Isaiah 61, verse 3, wow, what a blessing I could be to my own kids, to my own family, to all the kids I disciple, and the people who see me in my position as director of Local Hope. Wow, what could I do if I would just seek those decrees that God has for me and just live them with passion and zeal and not succumb to them. I think of all the diseases that are ridden, that are just riddling us each day. I think of all the people who are just addicted to crack cocaine and money and wealth and alcohol and all the lives that are being destroyed. What would happen if we just would turn our face to God to be those righteous agents that He's called us to be? How might our world be changed? And as I think about serving the least of these in a great city like this, in Chicago and New York and Philadelphia and in Raleigh, North Carolina, I just think that the problems are so large, so complex, so difficult to overcome, that there's no way we can do it without being exactly who God called us to be. So that's what I'm going to really be concentrating on this week as I'm here with CCDA and as I listen to Dr. Perkins and just communicate with other leaders from around the country who have caught this vision of what God is doing among the least of these.